Meeple Talk!
Hello everyone, we're Meeple Talk. I'm Adam.
And I'm Stephanie, and this week we're talking about Above and Below, another Red Raven edition. Originally started as a Kickstarter for 2015. Should we say about an hour and a half or so to play, 2 to 4 players?
Yeah. About an hour and a half, sure.
Yeah, I would say so. So what's this thing about?
Well, this game, the above is where you buy buildings that are above ground, and below is where you go exploring into the caves, and there you have encounters.
Ooh, sounds
exciting
mysterious.
Encounters. And,
It tests your sense of morality, because you'll be given different kind of choices, and depending if you succeed or fail, or how well you fail, you're going to get different kind of rewards for that.
Yes, and you may be punished with less reputation, or you might get more reputation for doing the right thing, like helping out an old lady who's looking for a mouse or something. That's essentially how it goes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, the difference between that and other kinds of storytelling games is that it's not a master story that builds upon itself. They are little snippets that are individual bits that you're going to decide upon. Not really interrelated, but...
Yeah, we'll get more into that
Sure.
when we get into opinions as well.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can't forget about that.
It's a necessary part of the show.
I guess so. But as you can see, it's a pretty big board, so we might as well just dive right in and start explaining it.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. As you can see, it's a pretty full playing space. Let's focus here on the common, we call this the reputation board. This is the common board that everyone's going to rely on because it indicates a few things. One, you've got your round track, so as the game progresses, that's going to be the indication of where you are positionally. Also, the reputation track. This is where one of your main components in the game is going to be exploring caves. This is where you're going to encounter, different encounters. And as you succeed or fail, your relative position along this track is going to change either forward or back, which is going to affect your level of victory points at the end. Also, everyone has available to them the Market of the Villagers. You're going to probably want to hire more people as you go along because they'll help you succeed in your various conquests over time. Also, the cider token board, that's going to be indicated there. And then the different kind of goods that are going to be available to you and their relative rarity. As you succeed, this is where your rewards are. Everyone's going to be hopefully collecting different types of goods, and the variety, most you have, the better. You may also be awarded with different potions, which affect your healing capabilities. Also, money as well. And also, if we scooch over to this side, your buildings. This is where this market is housed. Any of the buildings that are blue background, these are considered the above ground house cards. Some of them may have special conditions at the end for when you win. So, for example, victory points, whether they're flat out or also conditional based on other kinds of goods that you may have. Some of them here, they may give you instant rewards, like whether it's certain types of goods, ability for bed rest. And also some of them may have recurring goods like coin that you'll earn over and over again as the rounds progress. The dark ones, these are the outposts. These ones you can only build as you succeed in your cave explorations, because when you succeed in your cave explorations, you're going to keep that cave card, and these outposts will be built upon them. Every card has their relative purchase value, so you'll need to have enough to earn that. And also, if we focus down here, this is where your collections are going to be stored. So you have your individual player placard. It's got 3 different zones you'll notice here, and this will indicate your level of availability for the players, or for the villagers, I should say. Any of them that are in a ready state that may be used for actions in your rounds are going to be placed here. Any of them that have been exhausted will need to rest, and also any that you may have purposefully injured to succeed in a cave encounter, they're going to go into this 3rd spot. In order to move them from any kind of rest or injury back to ready, you need beds. Every player starts with a base card of 3 rest, places that you can move your players to. Only 1 per player, or villager, I should say. Also, we've got a master track here, and this will keep track of 2 different things. As you notice on this board, as you collect your different types of goods, each different type will be placed along the board. Multiples of the same good will just be stacked on the same place. You will indicate at first your beginning income for your rounds. Everyone starts with 4 at first, but the more goods you collect, you'll notice that your level of income is going to increase. Also, you'll notice that the victory point markers are going to increase over time as well. So the more you have and the greater variety, the best you will, be at earning income and earning victory points. So that is the basic setup.
So now we'll move on to how you would play around, and we'll focus on the player board because it has all of the actions on the top of the board. I would say the most important or most thematic is the exploration. It has a symbol of a lantern because in order to succeed, you'll need a certain number of lanterns in order to succeed in whatever encounter that you come up with. You'll need at least 2 rested characters in order to go on to an encounter, and you'll select them first, and then you'll draw a cave card. And then based on the die roll, you'll determine which encounter in the book that you're going to use. For example, I could read one here. You venture into a maze of icy tunnels. Before going far, you come across some dusty skulls, a few with teeth marks in them. Do you stay near the entrance of the tunnels or delve deeper? And it'll give you some options like stay near the entrance, explore 3, or delve deeper into the tunnels, explore 5 or 7. So then you're going to roll die and see how many lanterns you can get with your characters. And based on that, you'll get some kind of reward. For example, you might get 2 coins and a mushroom and a +1 reputation. Or you might get 5 coins, a rope, and maybe you might get a -1 reputation. If it seems like a bad deed. That's generally how the game goes. And then those characters are exhausted. Basically, any action you take will require that somebody is exhausted as a result. So the second action here would be harvesting goods from some of the cards that you've purchased. The third one is you need a builder. So this one has a hammer, so he's a builder. And you would exhaust him in order to buy any of the buildings or outposts. This one indicates a quill, which means that you can buy other characters who are generally more powerful than your starting characters. And finally, there's a labor option, which allows you to just expend characters 1 for 1 for gold. So if I would expend 2 in the labor option, I would get 2 gold. And I might also get a cider if I was the first player in the round, and that essentially works as an extra bed. The beds are important because if you only have 3 beds, you can only bring 3 back. And so if you have 4, for example, you can't bring this one to ready because you only have 3 beds. So that's kind of a limitation. As you get more characters, you're going to need more beds. But that's basically how the game works, and after 7 rounds, you add up all of your victory points here, the number of buildings you have, and all of the collection bonuses, and whoever has the most points wins. So
okay.
we're...
I was just going to say, we are back.
So we're...
So what did you think there?
Well, okay, so... first of all, I'll talk about what I thought were the positives of this game. It's really well laid out. There's a lot of components, but you don't feel like you're overwhelmed by them. Really nice art. Apparently the guy who designed it also did the art, so he's an artist. Obviously, he's an artist. He did a really great job. You know, I really like this.
Pretty well-rounded guy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. He can do anything. Jack of all trades and master of some things, too, so... So,
we're just really envious. We have no skills whatsoever.
So, right. Yeah. That's why we're doing this show. So, back to the game.
Yes.
So, this game has a number of different components. It has, like, collection bonuses that you can get at the end with these star houses. There's a lot of houses that you can pick up during the game. You're collecting these different items. But also... And very importantly, there's this, encounter part of the game where you decide to send some people out to have an encounter. And I felt that, well, first of all, the impression you get when you hear about the game is that, it's kind of like a role play sort of thing where, you go and explore and maybe you act out a character or maybe, something that happens when you explore has an impact on the rest of the game. But I was a bit disappointed in the fact that it really is random encounters. And random in the sense that whatever happens when you explore once has nothing to do with the rest of the game. It's just you get some reward and then you move on. And then maybe you explore again on the next turn. You get something else. And there's another little story. And the story bits are interesting. They're often, fun or maybe funny. But the decisions that you make, they just get you items. And it's even in some ways anticlimactic because they spend a lot of time writing these interesting little story tidbits. But then when you get to the reward, it's just like, and you get 3 coins. Instead of saying, oh, and, you know, the woman chased away the mouse and you fought 3 ogres and you get 3 coins, right? So there's no story component at the end, so it's kind of very anticlimactic. So I was a little disappointed in that. And the other part of the game, I would say that it's a very light game. There's not a lot of strategy, and I say that because there's so much randomness involved in the game. The cards that you lay out, there's a lot more cards than are laid out, so it's very random what will show up. You know, when you do your cave exploring, it's completely random what encounter you'll get. You don't know until after you succeed what kind of reward you can get. So even that is made more random. If you had an idea what kind of rewards you can get from exploring, then that might add more strategy. Because you'd be like, oh, maybe I really need a mushroom, so I'm really going to try hard to get the mushroom because that's part of my collection bonus. But you can't do that because they don't allow you to know. So my overall feeling, I'm probably talking too much, but...
That's okay.
But I'd
Who
say...
needs me? I do.
You put me in a difficult position. I'm just about to forge off on my own and have my own show, and now you gotta ruin it.
I knew it.
So I would say overall, it's a light strategy game. It has too much randomness for me. I feel like there's no engine building. There's no passive strategy. You can't, you know, kind of, there's nothing you can do to really thwart anybody else. So it really is a kind of a light exploration game where, oh, what's going to happen next? Who knows? It's that sort of game. So if you like that kind of game, I think you would like it. Personally, it wasn't my type of game. So,
whereas, you know what, I can kind of see where you're going on this, and it's because you're strutting on your own. I have to, you know, defend the game. But I think it's one of those things that the engine building, the storytelling, everything else really comes into its own depending on the conditions. And the reason why I say that is that, yeah, the artwork looks great. I mean, it's kind of kiddish. You have these very, very young-looking people, even with these ridiculous facial mustaches and beards and whatnot.
Giant mustaches.
Yeah, exactly. One old guy, he's cool. But the thing is, when it comes to... I'll talk about the engine building bit first, because it's one of those games where it really is, you know, you got your first round. It may be very limited depending on the number of players. You may have, you know, preset people that you can only use at first. It's going to be limited, and then you kind of, you know, go along over time and do more and more and more, because the rounds just keep going until everyone essentially quits. Now, when it comes to the ability to build... this is where I think Adam's point is really coming to play, is that it looks like there's a lot of choice, but there's a lot of random built in that really limits your ability to do anything. And so, for example, you may have these cards that not all of them are available because you'll have this stack, only so many come up, and so many of them are interrelated in the sense that you may have an ending condition card that might depend on the level of a certain type of good or something that you'll need to build upon. But if you don't have those opportunities from getting the certain types of encounters that award you those kinds of goods, or, for example, let's say, you know, 2 types of cards really work well together, but if one doesn't come up under what's available, you can't really build unless it's actually there and you can see it ahead of time, you know, because... Maybe you might luck out if halfway through the game you don't really have much of a strategy, but things happen to come up that you can snap up. That's fine. But if you want to plan right from the beginning, because timing is kind of critical, and when you take certain actions, is that may thwart you. Also, too, when it comes to the storytelling bit, again, it's one of those conditional things, how really well it works. If you're not really into the storytelling bit, you might think, well, okay, this is just, again, another case of randomness. You're just going to roll some cards, pick a scenario, roll again to see if your players will meet or defeat or lose. And so, again, it's just random dice rolling. What's the point of the stories? But if you have the type of players with you who don't really need an overarching or an arc, they like to just play with the individual scenarios, and whether it's making fun of each other, you know, relating ourselves to the characters or what the scenarios are. People who are into just the enjoyable aspect of just telling jokes or doing storytelling, sometimes that can actually become a larger component of the game. Your interaction was really on that, the playfulness of that part. So that could actually grow as a more dominating feature, whereas for other players, it could have been like, what's the point? So I really think that the success of the game is highly based on who you're playing with and the right, the luck of the draw, so to speak. Yeah. So it can be really good, but also can sometimes feel a bit lacking. Overall, I do think it's still a decent effort. I mean, for a Kickstarter game, it's really well designed. I liked how we did a review before of Islebound, and that's where they were experimenting with the crossover with the specific player tokens, I guess you can call them, that you can use them from one to the other. So I like the way they're starting to think in long term. So I think, you know what, it's not so bad. I am still encouraged to see what more they produce and other kind of offerings they're going to come up with, because I think they're not a one-hit wonder. I think that they do have the ability to think long-term and plan and interweave. That I think they may be able to really strike well on a steady set of offerings. So I'm still encouraged to see what else they're going to have to offer.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's Near and Far is coming out. It may already be out. I haven't actually looked into it, but I've heard about it. So obviously Red Raven Games has been publishing a lot of games, and they're very successful. Yeah. Of the two that we played, I think by far Islebound is a much better game.
I agree.
But again, that might be my personal bias of liking games that have some kind of meaty strategy. Yeah. As Steph mentioned, I definitely think that this is more of a light, random game. And if you like that sort of thing where crazy adventures happen, then this may be much more appealing to you. For me, I would say it was just kind of a middle of the road experience for me. I would definitely play it again if hit the table, but it's not something I would definitely go looking for.
And to me, I say it just depends on your flavor. So absolutely. If you like it, I would say give it a go.
Yep.
So, but that's pretty much it for this week. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. Come check out our other videos. We'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.